today's class, we are going to discuss about data types and storage classes which are associated with. So far, we have studied about how to write a simple C programs. We have also studied about various C character set. Had studied C tokens. Under C tokens, we had studied about keywords, identifiers, constant, and also we have studied about the various data types provided by the C language. Now, in today's class, we are going to revisit again about data types available in C programming language like long, short, signed, unsigned, and various storage classes like auto storage classes, register storage, kernel storage classes, static storage classes, and what is their role in data type. Rather, you can say in variable. Now, the data under data types, when you had studied about the integer data type, it, it provides a variation. Like your integer data type can be long, it now, based on 16-bit or 32-bit compiler, the size of each varies. It is reflected in the presentation. Like for example, short is at least 2 byte big, long is at least 4 byte big, and short is never bigger than integer, int is never bigger than. Now this is an example as per the compiler C, like 16-bit turbo C++ short is of 2 byte, integer is of 2 byte, and 4 byte, whereas in 32-bit Visual C++, short is of 2 byte, but integer is of 4 byte and long is of. Now, how to declare this data type? Like for example, long, if you want to make your data type, integer data type long, you're supposed to write long, then int, then the variable name. Similarly, or long ABC, similarly short, int, then the variable name, or you can rather write short, right? Now, in case of integer, signed and unsigned, when the value stored by the integer is always positive, we can use the keyword unsigned as signed if it is signed, signed in students, or you can write unsigned if it is unsigned, unsigned eyes. With the above declaration, the range that is going to be held by this kind of data type is from minus 32768 to plus 32767, or unsigned is 0 to 65535. Now for character signed and unsigned, unsigned and signed character both occupy the 1 byte each. Here the range would be from minus 128 to 127, whereas unsigned character has a range from 0 to. So for float, double, and long data types are concerned, float always occupies 4 bytes in memory, which is ranging is from minus 3.4 e to the power 38 to the 3.4 e to the power 35. Double occupies 8 bytes in memory, which ranges from minus 1.7 power 308 plus 1.7 e to the power 308. If the situation demands even bigger range in your, as per your problem is concerned, you can also go for the long double, and in that case the range would be minus 0.7 e to the power 4932 to 1.7 e to the power 4. Whereas the long double also, you should also know that long double occupies 10 bytes in memory. Now by this time, now you got to know what each particular variation of data type occupies as per the size is concerned, and accordingly you can use it in your problem. Now, what is storage classes and how it is associated with variable? Now, as a variable storage class always tells us where the variable would be stored, what will be the initial value or the default value, what is the scope of the variable, that is in which function the value of the variable will be available, accessibility, say, and their lifetime means how long the variable is going to exist. Now, there are 4 types of storage classes. One is your automatic storage class, register storage class, static storage class, and external storage. Now what is your storage automatic storage class is all about? How it is going to decide their lifetime, accessibility, and the scope, and of course the default value. Now by default, when you declare a particular variable like int x, by default the storage class is always automatic. So the storage here, the value is going to be stored in memory, RAM. Default initial value is garbage value. That's why we always do initialize as per our requirements. Scope will be local to the block in which that particular variable is defined. Like for example, if for loop, and inside that for loop, if declaring a variable which is of automatic type, then in that case the variable will be accessible, or the life longevity of that variable, or you can say the variable will not be accessed. If you try to access the variable outside the for loop, it will give an error. And life till the control remains within the block in which the variable is defined, as I told you. So the longevity of that particular variable will be within that block only. If it is for, if you are declaring inside the for loop, then the longevity within that for loop. Then keyword, how for declaring a particular variable storage class as automatic, you need to use the keyword auto. One example has been given. So as per that example, so you are supposed to write, if you want to make I and j as automatic storage class variable, and auto, then the type of the variable and the name of the variable. Similarly, for resistor storage class, if you declare a variable as a resistor storage class, or if you declare storage class of a variable as resistor, in that case the variable is resistor. But in this case, students, one thing you remember, although if you want to make a variable as a resistor storage class variable, but for the compiler, it's not an obligation to declare that particular variable as resistor only, because as you all of you know, number of resistors are limited. So if the resistors are not available, in that case CPU resistors are not available, that in that case that the variable will be considered as the auto variable and it will be stored in memory. So it is not an obligation for the compiler. So as the name suggests, it is generally it is going to be stored in registers, as I had told you. So as since the registers are limited, so CPU registers are not available, data is stored as auto despite being declared as register. So in by default, if it is register, store register, the default initial value garbage value here also, the scope local to the block in which the variable is defined, as in case of auto, similarly life longevity or lifetime till the control remains within the block in which the variable is defined, as same as your auto, and keyword is register. Therefore, in this example, ij will be a variable which the storage class will be registered. Next, come to your static storage class. This holds in between function calls, and this particular storage class is generally used for making a variable counters. Here the storage is memory, default initial value is 0, always scope local to the block in which the variable is defined, life, the value of the variable persists between function difference that you finding of your static storage class and your register, and keyword is static, and how to declare it by using as it is shown in the example, static, then the type of the variable, and now this is an example by which you will be able to understand how the storage static storage. Like for example, you take the first one. Here if you see, we are creating a function definition. This is name of the function, and the function return type is integer, and there is no parameter that is being passed to the function. Now inside the function, as you see, I have started the function curly bracket and in function with a curly bracket. Now there is one variable, the name of the variable is count. Int is the type of the variable, and I have used the keyword static to make that particular static variable, means that particular variable is take the storage static. I'm initializing it with 0 or by default 0, and then I'm incrementing the value, and then I'm returning the value. Accordingly, the return is in. Now you see in the main function, again, as you have seen, I am calling the function fun to. So when, as I had already told you, this static count variable is not neither a static variable nor a register variable. So what it will, the memory being allocated for count, an identifier, as you know, that is going to be shared by both the function. So therefore, when if one of the function call, if it increments the value of the count, the other function value, because both are going to share the same same space rather. So there won't be two copies of the count in both the function, rather will be one copy of the count. So therefore, when the first invocation of the function happens, it will go to the function, it will initialize the count, and count incremented, so count will be 1. A second time when the second time when the function fun is again in, what it will do, it is not going to override that count value to, because as I had told you, there will be one space, one identifier which is going to be shared by both the functions. There will be two copies of the count for all. So for the second time, therefore, the count will be count plus 1, be 2. As it is a, so therefore, if a particular variable is made as static, there will be one copy of the particular identifier, and which will be shared by all the function wherever the function is in. It is going to be all. Whereas if you see the non-static case, here I am not making count as static. So what it will happen? So there will be two copies of the count. First function invocation fun is going to make it 0 first, and then it will increment. So count will be 1. For the second one, it is going to again initialize 0 and count the increment. So for the second one also, it will be 1, because for both the function, there will be separate copies of the count, not going to share. Therefore, the lifetime of the function will not be, it will be limited within the function, not across the function. Therefore, in the first example, you will get first function call output is 1, for the second function call output. Whereas in the second example, for the first function call is also 1, for the second 1. I hope people are able to understand. Now next come to the external storage. Now this is the last storage class. So this kind of storage class, this kind of variable having storage as declared at all function, they're available to all the function that wish to. The storage class will be memory here. Default value is 0. Now here the scope is not local. Here the scope is global. It will be accessible across and declaring it outside the function. Lifetime, therefore, this particular variable's lifetime will be as long as the program's execution does not come to an end. And keyword used for this particular storage is ext. And the way we declare is extrn is the storage class, then int I. Remember, whenever we are declaring variable, we are not till now we are not associating storage class. So the default value means you people are considering this or. So therefore, in today's class, we had revisited your data type, where we had discussed about the variation of integer, float, and have also discussed about the classes. Right? One is auto, resistor, etc. So for the references is concerned, these are the references that follow. I'm also while you This step 6 I am following. Ready? You can always continue in the